The trade war and the Mexico and Canada tariffs on hold for now, but China is a go. So what's next? Will businesses pull back on investing and hiring? And will we end up paying the price in this Game of Thrones? My deep conversation this week with business strategist David Olcott. Welcome in, everyone, here to Full Circle, Florida. The United States buys more than it sells. That's why we have a trade deficit with China. President Trump has been arguing that access to the American market is a privilege, and the cost of accessing that privilege should be border security and stopping the flow of illegal drugs like fentanyl. Essentially, what good is a store if you don't have a few regular customers, and we happen to be the world's biggest? That is the simple backdrop of this fast-moving and complicated trade war that the White House is now waging. The question is, will you end up paying for it? Here's my conversation this week with the founder of Samurai Success, David Olcott. Well, let's get right into it. I mean, I feel like we're going to get a new development on this every 24 hours or 48 hours as the world turns. But we know that the trade war with Mexico and Canada, it is on hold for now. But the tariffs on China are in effect. China has already retaliated. We buy everything from cell phones to sneakers from China. What do you think the ripple effect is going to be of this trade war on business owners? Do you think they're going to pump the brakes on investment and hiring?
Well, it's interesting because if you take a look at this high-stakes poker that the administration is playing with the rest of the world, if you will, China, Canada, and Mexico. Mexico and Canada had things, or we actually had things that they wanted. They want the jobs that we're going to be able to offer that we're actually pulling over from China, and they want those jobs. So that was a little easier negotiation from my perspective, if you will. China is looking for something different, and we just don't have that to give. So it's going to play it a little bit longer. So what we're suggesting to our clients is not pumping the brakes. It's actually just lifting off the gas, because, as Americans, we like to full on, full off kind of thing as if we're racing. This strategy right now, this cycle if we're in, is just slowing down a little bit and plan and be patient.
So getting the leverage on this situation could take a little time to play out. What about the consumer? How much of this will hit everyday Americans who, as we all know, we're already struggling. A lot of us are struggling to pay the bills after years of inflation. Certainly any more inflation that's sparked by this is going to be tough for a lot of people to swallow.
I would agree with you. As a matter of fact, the two things that are really going to potentially happen with a lot of certainty is prices are going to increase. And of course, then China has this other opportunity to play with shortages, which of course then hits on supply and demand, and prices increase again. So we're really strategizing with our homeowners and our business owners in the same way. If you've got materials that you have in your business or at home that are really supplied by China, take a look at being able to get those reserves in place today. Increase your inventory with those supplies, because those prices are going to increase. And what don't increase, you're going to see a shortage of, and that's the game is China's going to be playing with this administration to get back this pushback from these tariffs. So you could really take advantage of this as getting those materials in advance now where the prices are where they are, because they will be increasing.
David, it's easy to get into a trade war, but how hard do you think it will be to get out of one once this thing starts? Just like an actual hot war, the longer you're in one, the more mission creep tends to come into effect. You lose sight of the real original objective. So if this thing with China drags on for several months or even a year, could the market price in sort of a permanent uncertainty factor when it comes to these tariffs? And could that increased costs linger much longer than what businesses and everyday consumers are being told?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, because that's exactly what the game that China can play is, because they play this long game. We have, changes every 4 years in our administration. Of course, this administration is going to be, moving on, and there's going to be a new administration because this is Trump's last opportunity for that. So China knows this, and they're going to be putting as much pressure to deal with this administration. If they can't, they're going to hold off as long as they can. But I will tell you, the people who really dislike uncertainty are the Fed, Wall Street, and bankers. The interesting part when you really study financial people is they go through these oscillations, if you will, but then they find their own natural certainty levels that they can start playing with. So even in the midst of chaos, they find this weighted average they start playing at, and then things start to resume to normal. So that's the path we're really looking for.
And I know President Trump and the administration is basically saying, look, we're trying to get away from this idea that we need China. But who do you think needs who more? Does China need us, or do we need them? And is that really the whole point of this, is to be more independent as a country?
I think COVID taught us a lot of things, not just about the COVID itself, but also the supply chain management that we put ourselves in, having things so far away from us to be able to get supplies that we really desperately need. And so I think that's the big push. But this has been going on for the last several administrations, is pulling things back from China from a manufacturing stuff and start actually getting them over to allies that we can work with, Mexico, Canada, much closer to home. So this is going to be a game that's played over a long period of time. Right now, in this moment, we need China because it provides so much of our products and services. As that dissipates, though, they're going to be in an interesting position. And what they're really wanting after this game, of course, is Taiwan.
Yeah, well, you know, carrot sticks and the game of risk that is the world competition that we're living in right now. The question is who's going to pay for it and where's the reward when it's all said and done. David, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.